fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got really outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
40 of the best sim racers, $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is the most competitive and sought-after season in iRacing World Championship history. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Super Cup.
Gotta love this time of year. Only one can be champion. Let's go playoff racing.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Time again, ladies and gentlemen, on the iRacing Esports Network. We are SimSpeed TV. This is the international division of the Majors Series, the most versatile of sim racing leagues out there. We are proud to bring to you this particular round, the King's Royal at Eldora Speedway in the 410 Sprint Cars. I am really looking forward to this one. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box, Jay Kennedy. Also on cameras, Jay. Eldora. When Dirt was first announced for iRacing, I had no idea this track existed, and the moment I drove it, I fell in love with it. It's an incredible circuit. It's high banked, it's high speed, you're on the edge the whole way around. Sometimes you got to ride the wall.
Yeah, it's incredible running dirt stuff. I know that you, when it first came out, you didn't know too much about it. Now, every time that we've got a dirt series here on SimSpeed TV, you want to be involved and be able to call the action. So it's really, really impressive how amazing dirt is. How wide the circuit here is really amazing as well. Of course, the truck series, real life racing there this weekend, it was really, really fun to watch. And the track here, very, very tough, but fair few cars out there, which will make it even tougher as the track evolves throughout the night.
Absolutely. And of course, those 50 cars won't be competing all at once. Here at SimSpeed TV, we have a heat racing format, thanks, of course, to Mike Willett. and the Majors Series staff for working out all the kinks in the event management, because this is quite the format. We've got heat racing, and that certainly adds an extra dimension to it, Jay.
Yeah, it definitely does. And all of our heats tonight will be 15 laps. We've got, about 35 odd cars. I believe there'll be 8 or 9 cars in each heat of 15 laps. 25 laps for our B main, where there'll be possibly 2 B mains, a B and a C, and then a 40 lap A main, which will give us our overall winner, which, as we've seen in other dirt racing series, you can be the fastest driver, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you will win the racing, purely based on how bizarre some of these races can be. Traffic is always a factor, and making sure you don't get caught up in someone else's incident is a lot easier said than done.
Absolutely, especially with the type of racing that you have to do in these cars on this kind of surface. That's the track temp and the weather data. We do have a bit of wind from the northwest, but it's not going to affect things too much, and very low humidity, so nice and dry out there, which means that the track will be very slippery. That's the thing about dirt racing. The track evolves quite a bit.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's really interesting to see how the track evolves throughout the night. It always chops and changes. We'll see the track get reset before qualifying in a few minutes' time, around about 7 minutes away from qualifying. And then once we get into the racing action, the track will reset once again, and then the track will evolve to get pretty much to the stage it is right now, where there is no real track left at all. It is all absolutely slick, which means that the best of the best will be able to work their way to the front, and the guys that aren't too comfortable with these cars will just be passengers, knowing that the car and track are both trying to kill them at the same time.
Yeah, and speaking of cars that want to kill you, how about these machines? 410 sprint cars. The 410 is the amount of cubic inches in the V8 engine that drives the rear wheels through a single gear. These things don't have differentials. They don't have any of the advanced technology that you see in most types of racing. It's literally 900 horsepower, pedal to the metal, all the way around on a car that is very bespoke for this kind of circuit.
Yeah, it's like very, very old school mechanics behind how these cars perform, but they've got a lot of modern tech with them as well. The way that the rear wing moves, you can adjust the rear wing on the fly so that you can have it in different positions depending how the tracks change. It's pretty incredible machinery, but based off a very, very old school style of racing mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to really work the track and work your rivals around you as they try to control these incredible machines that produce quite a bit of downforce. That big wing straddling the top of the car isn't just for show. These cars produce an insane amount of downforce, and it means that they corner at incredibly high speeds. You can see that incredible turn of speed through the turn. Obviously, the driver involved didn't quite get that turn right, but you can see the kind of moment thinking you need to demonstrate in cars like this.
Yeah, it's very, very tough. And I mean, drivers that are going out there now after driver's briefing is just completed, they'll be going out there in a different track to what they had maybe 20 minutes ago. The track has changed so much since the practice session opened. When I first joined, it was almost a fully clean track, and now there's absolutely no grip out there at all. The lap times around this track are less than half a mile, but they're 2 seconds slower now than what they were at the start of the session, even more. So very, very difficult conditions out there at the moment. But they'll get a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a chance to reset before they get back out there for qualifying, which this week has actually been pretty close. It's been pretty hard fought. And the only race for the entire season that qualifying doesn't actually, or pre-qualifying I should say, doesn't actually dictate where you start in the night of racing. So you don't necessarily have to punch in your absolute fastest lap time in the qualifying session or the pre-qualifying session through the week, because tonight was just see Team Mole and Mirko Ditnak have a little bit of an incident there. It's going to happen quite a lot tonight when we see cars come together. Showing your true pace, not necessarily the key earlier in the week. Showing your pace now is going to be the key, but top 5 will also be inverted in all of our heats too. So the pole position winner will start the first heat from 5th. So that will mix up how the field progresses throughout the night and give a little bit more of a challenge to some of these faster guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That as we said before, you have to really work everything the car, the track, the people around you. It's absolutely insane the amount of fine adjustment you have to make in racing like this. Absolutely fantastic. And we're seeing more and more cars come out on track to do their laps as the session starts coming to an end.
Yeah, while we wait for the session to end, we'll quickly go through our championship standing, starting with the Pro Championship. Cameron Dance has a fairly substantial lead at the moment, but the rest of the field very, very close. Look out there to Northway, Burns, Sheridan, King, all rather close. And then King, Mole, Skurlock and Bowen in that 5th through to 8th section. Those guys are really, really tight. And a totally different race to all of those, what those guys are used to, is really going to mix up that midfield. But Cameron Dance is going to be really, really upset if he doesn't take away anything but a win tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Cam Dance competed at the pro level in iRacing Dirt for the World of Outlaws Championship that is sanctioned here on the iRacing service, and he's seen some pretty wild results in that series, helping to represent the Southern Hemisphere, which, you know, it really attaches itself to this kind of racing as much as it does in North America, and it shows in the amount of drivers from this region that have competed. But Dean Mole in 6th place, I'm pretty sure he might have an interesting night as well.
Yeah, he's probably looking to work his way back forward through the field throughout the next few races, a little bit more suited to his style the next few. So, of course, we've got back to our NASCAR racing next round when we head to Michigan. And, of course, then we've got the Lotus, the V8 and the Formula One car, the McLaren. So, got a few different types of cars still to come, but I think the latter half of the season will help the likes of Dean Mole and Alexander Sheridan a little bit more as well.
Yeah. Drivers like them really handle these cars very, very well. And another driver that we should focus on going to the Legends Championship standings, John King. Of course, he's dominated this championship for drivers over 50 years old, but Gavin Barber is starting to come back at him here in the latter half of the season.
Yeah, it was pretty much John King's to lose, but Gavin Barber, as you said, he started to really close in. That gap's closed quite a considerable margin over the last couple of rounds, and Barber really coming for him. Scott Kukas as well is not as far behind as he was earlier, so still a race between three, but John King still leads by a decent margin at the moment. But a poor result here will definitely change that around, and Gavin Barber will be looking to take advantage. Barber, of course, racing in a team that has a little bit more dirt experience as well, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes as we go to the Sportsman Championship next.
Yes, indeed. And Dave Douglas is leading that particular championship, and Gavin Barber also eligible for this particular championship within a championship. Riley Curtis, though, not that far behind him.
Yeah, it's a very, very tight championship, that one. You look top 8, separated by 500 points. It's the closest out of all of the championships out there, with so many drivers so close within that. It's going to come right down to the wire, the Sportsman Championship. Of course, for the drivers, it's a little bit lower I rating at the start of the season than everyone else, so it'd be great to see who wins that one. It's always a very, very hard-fought championship, the Sportsman's Championship, so we'll see how that one plays out come the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the teams championship, well, there's one team that has certainly gotten itself a big lead, and that is Kinetic Swift Racing. Fantastic level of competition in this championship to what it is.
So looks like we're just having a couple of issues with our Discord at the moment, but you're right, Kinetic Swift Racing definitely a mile ahead of everyone else at the moment. So they're doing really well. Illusion Motorsports jumped ahead of SimSpeed Esports, and Middle Finger Racing as well, also moving forward. They've done really, really well over the last few rounds as well. So look out for those guys to take a bit of advantage here. They've got a large number of drivers out there on track this week, and the SimSpeed Esports crew only have one car out there, so they'll be looking to take a big chunk of points as we go to the Sportsman's Team Championship. Lastly, we've got RCD and Middle Finger Racing, only 168 points separating those guys. So that will be a really, really interesting night to see how the Sportsman's Team Championship handles things tonight. As we get into qualifying, we are now underway, and we'll see who can get to the top of the timesheets as the drivers hit the track.
Yes, indeed. And of course, this is solo qualifying. Everyone is doing their laps at the same time, but they cannot see each other, and their physics cannot affect each other either. So everyone has an empty track to try and do the best lap time that they possibly can. This is where it really starts to ramp up. Completely clean track. We'll see it evolve a little bit more as the night goes on. Josh Micklemore setting a 13.269 to start off with, but Will Leslie is at the top on a 13.260. Only 6 thousandths behind, though, is Daniel Stevens. And Leslie, well, if he wants that pole position, he's going to have to make sure he gets a little bit more pace out of that car. Jason Martin on his first lap. And this guy is a big oval nut. He's one of the foremost oval racers in the AusNZ region, and he puts himself 19th with that time.
Brett Gerazzo goes to the top of the timesheets with a 13.211. Interesting strategy with a lot of the dirt regulars sitting in the pits and waiting. That's quite a common thing to do. We saw as Jason Martin goes to the top of the timesheets, the first 13.1 we've seen, and that is a very, very impressive lap from him. The dirt specialists start to come out of the pits now and start to register their lap times, as Michael Skurlock will come out and start his lap time. Cameron Dance, James Robbie, Robert Northway, Brett Wheeler, all of regulars we've seen in the Down Under Graphics Australian Sprint Car Series. They are still in the pits waiting, which is no surprise to see those guys in the pits waiting. But we'll see what Skurlock can do here.
Absolutely, and the reason that they're waiting in the pits is because they're waiting for other drivers to clear out a particular groove around the circuit. The groove is what is most important in sprint car racing. It's that little boundary between the dry, hard clay created by the tires sliding across the surface and the mound of moist clay on the outside of the racing line. If you can hit that sweet spot, then that's where the most grip is.
Yep, exactly right. If you can work out exactly where to place the car at the right spot, you'll get the fastest lap. And those guys that just sit there and watch, probably watching the broadcast just to see where everyone's running and working out where the lines are, as I do see a few of them were watching. As Riley Curtis comes across the line, we'll go to Cameron Dance. He's just started his flying lap. He and James Robbie, 1 and 2 in pre-qualification throughout the week. We'll see what Dance can do.
He's getting to the wall there.
Incredible how close they are. You start wide for that first lap and then cut down really low for the second one to try and get the best speed up to start their flying lap. James Robbie goes to 15th with his first lap. Cameron Dance to second on his second lap. And he will not go any quicker. So he will start from a fairly high position. James Robbie across the line, and he will not go any quicker than 16th position. We've still got a few drivers left to go. Robert Northway a little bit further back than what we would normally see. 31st position, but he'll jump up now into 20th. Still got one more run. No, that is him done. So a couple more drivers still left to go, but of course, it doesn't really matter where you start at this stage of these races. You've got a lot of chances to get yourself forward throughout the field. As long as you can stay out of trouble, you're always a chance to advance to the next round.
That's exactly right, and the chaotic nature of this racing is why that is, you know. All of these drivers controlling these very powerful, very fast cars around a very loose surface that you got to work just right to get the fastest lap times. When cars come together, it can certainly be spectacular. Well, that is the qualifying session over for this particular group, and I guess once the heats start, we'll go to the grid for those, because it's a reduced amount of grids for these heats.
Yeah, exactly right. There'll be, I believe, 8 or 9 cars for each heat. Depending on how many we had, we could have got up to 6 heats, but we definitely won't have 6. With, I believe, 36 cars out there, 35 cars out there, I should say. So a very, very good turnout, I must say. Well done to everyone for coming and showing up in what is one of the more difficult disciplines of racing. This, along with the Lotus 49, I feel will be the 2 most difficult races or rounds we will have in this championship. So it's great to see how many drivers have decided to jump out on track to get out there tonight. It looks like we'll have 5 heats of 7 drivers, which I think will be quite fun to watch, with Dirtnack and Robbie on the front row for Heat 1, Williams and Leslie, Martin and Taylor, and then Brad Finley on row 4. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Fairly long heat races as well, with 15 laps for these drivers. No cautions, so that will make it interesting as well.
Yeah, certainly. It's quite. It is quite long for heat races. Usually they're 10 laps max around a track like Eldora, but that does add an extra element of endurance, and I guess it also allows more of a dry groove to be worked into the track, which makes things more difficult later on.
I actually think a few drivers will be happy that they're not in this first heat because
Mm.
probably want to race maybe heat 3 or heat 4, give you a bit more of a chance. After we finish our 5 heats, we will then go into our B and C main, and we'll see if anyone can do the alphabet. We saw in the Americas last season, we had some guys coming all the way through the alphabet to get themselves into the A main. I don't think we'll see that tonight because we've got quite a few experienced drivers, but it does give you a chance to get yourself through. If you do have a poor performance in these heats, you are not out of it. You do get a second chance, which is always pretty cool as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always an open door into a possible result in races like these. And of course, the track, as we continue racing, is going to get darker. It's 5:45 in the evening in sim time. So the shadows are getting long. They're going to get longer.
Yeah, exactly right. It'll make the racing change throughout the night, and or as the lights come on. We might not quite get to the point where the lights come on, but the shadows will get longer as the race progresses, which means that the track won't change in some aspects, as the shadows will affect where the track dries out a little bit more, but we'll get one more lap until we go green, and these 7 410 sprint cars will hit the throttle as fast and as powerful as they can, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. Some experienced drivers mixed in with some guys that probably haven't driven these cars as much always leads to very, very interesting racing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic, the kind of racing that you get in dirt, which really is the main draw for me, Jay, because it's just the right kind of racing to scratch that chaotic nerve in all of us. Well, the pace truck pulls off, the green flag goes, and Dortonak was caught sleeping off the start there. That's James Robbie into P1, coming through the first turn. They're going almost 3 wide behind. Stephen Williams versus Will Leslie on the outside, but it looks like Williams wins that little battle out. Jason Martin balked a little bit. He's going to have a bit of extra work to do.
Yeah, but it looks like, he's just clipped the inside wall. No. That's going to hurt him. He's going to lose all momentum. But Stephen Williams trying to get through on his teammate Dutnak, but not quite close enough. I thought he was going to do a bit of a slide job. Of course, the inside line, the preferred line at this stage, while the track still wears in. My apologies, we'll fix up the lap counter before the start of the next race. It's showing countdown timer, but we'll fix that up in a moment. Here comes Stephen Williams, a great run out of turn 4. He's going to get the move done as we start lap number 4.
Yep, and that's due to the momentum that you gain off the outside line there, and you see Dortonak trying to come back at him through that strategy. Will Leslie is really creeping up onto the back of these guys now because of that.
Yeah, Leslie looks very, very quick as well. Jason Martin's dropped all the way to the back of the field. Wayne Taylor starting to close a little bit on these guys as Martin gets through back into 6th. Very, very crucial to get these moves done as here comes Will Leslie. Big bump into the side of Dutnak.
Yeah, well, fortunately, dirt racing is more of a contact sport than most other forms of motor racing, so it doesn't hurt the cars too much to have a bit of a whack like that.
Yep, definitely right. They want a little bit of argy-bargy, but get a little bit too aggressive and not only can damage your car, it can damage the other car and can also flip you over, which causes intense damage. So we're now halfway through, starting lap number 8. As Leslie looks for another way around. He's trying to get momentum coming out of turns 2 and 4. He's going to cut wide, cut back down the inside out of turn 4. But great job from Dutnak to hold the inside. Leslie's going to have to go the long way around. Not going to be as easy as he'd like, but he's got it done here. Well done from Will Leslie. Great driving.
That's excellent stuff, and Dortonak actually over-rotated the car there on the inside, and combined with Will Leslie's excellent run, that's ensured his transition into a podium position. And it's actually quite interesting to see the differing driving styles that are starting to emerge. Drivers that are doing more of a middle to outside sort of line. They're keeping the foot pinned flat to the floor and rotating the car through the downforce and leaning on the outside tyre. But drivers like Dordenac and Leslie, who are sticking more to the inside, they're dragging the brake a little to rotate the car a bit more.
Yeah, well, James Robbie is the one you need to watch. He's been very, very well known within our broadcasts of dirt stuff here on SimSpeed TV. One of the top drivers in the dirt scene in Australia and New Zealand, so he's one to watch. And you can just see that he's slowly, every lap, he's just drifting a tiny, tiny little bit further out. You can see the track already starting to move as we come up 2 laps to go. James Robbie with a fairly good run at the moment, still setting very, very quick laps. Last lap by though, Will Leslie, the fastest car out on track as Dordenac comes back. Dordenac's starting to close that gap down as they get the white flag this time.
Yes, indeed. Dordenac really riding the cushion, attempting to push the track further up the banking, as we saw James Robbie doing. Will Leslie, though, he's sticking to the inside, just below the cushion. It seems like even Will Leslie's riding the cushion well, but James Robbie right there taking the victory in this first heat. Stephen Williams in second. That was a pretty eventful first heat of the night.
Definitely was. So Robbie, Williams, Leslie, Dordenac, Taylor, Finley, and unfortunate for Jason Martin. The great start started with the quick time of the night. He's going to have to go the long way around to get himself through the C and B main to get into the main event tonight. As we get to heat number 2, we'll run through the start grid, and then I'll try and fix these graphics up on screen.
Of course. So the starting grid for Heat 2, Scott Koukas and Matthew Clote on the front row, with Chris Purnell and Daniel Stevens on row 2, Cam Downs and Matt Hunter making friends on row 3, and Brett Wheeler in 7th place there at the back. 7 cars once again for this heat. It'll be interesting to see what happens in this one. Cam Downs in this particular heat. Oh my goodness, I'm interested to see.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how this one plays out as well. So these guys out there, it will be very, very interesting to watch, because we've got some of the best dirt drivers with Brett Wheeler and Cameron Dance in this race together. Will make it very, very interesting for sure. They're 2 of the top dirt drivers in our side of the world. So we'll see how they go. Of course, Brett, very, very well known within the dirt scene with his broadcasting stuff, and Cam, well, he's our dirt expert here at SimSpeed TV, and as we said before, raced in the World of Outlaws Pro Championship. So 2 very, very accomplished dirt drivers out there mixing it up with these guys. Very, very interested to see how this one plays out.
Absolutely, and as they pace behind the pace truck, Scott Koukas in the Dog Bear sprint car there up the front. He'll be looking to get the best start here.
Oh, no.
But unfortunately, they've accordioned off. And Chris Purnell had to really hit the brakes. That's backed everybody up. Matt Hunter in the wall. And a great run from Daniel Stevens on the outside. Oh, goodness. Matt Hunter in more trouble. Chris Purnell almost rear-end contact there with the car behind, but we're seeing drivers start. Oh, dear. That was not good there. Cam Downs, unfortunately, going up into a car behind. The battle at the front getting pretty intense.
Yeah, Daniel Stevens looks really, really quick here. He was the fastest in practice, and here he comes trying to get through on Scott Koukas, and that is move done. Well done from Daniel Stevens, but watch Chris Purnell coming through as well as Koukas responds.
Outside
Scott Koukas looks good.
It's formed, well and truly formed by now. That first heat means that middle to outside line, you see where the dirt transitions in colour. Oh, goodness me, into the wall, Scott Koukas. And that car is very heavily damaged. I don't know if that'll be a yellow.
No cautions in the heat, so we continue.
Okay, my apologies.
That's all right, because Scott Koukas now will have to come the long way through, and Daniel Stevens with a bit of damage from that too, because Purnell is through, and Cameron Dance is right there ready to pounce as well. Will he get a move done to get through? Still 10 laps to go.
Yeah, Daniel Stevens having to really pick and choose his line, because Cam Dance is going to do everything he can here. A little bit of a slide job into the first turn, but the over-under there from Daniel Stevens, great response there from the WP concreting machine, and they are just coming up now on Chris Purnell in front of them, who they seem to have actually caught up with despite their battle.
Yeah, so they lost a bit of ground, but starting to close it back down again. Purnell leading, Daniel Stevens second, Cameron Dance in third, and Matthew Clote a little bit further back in fourth. Kukas, Hunter and Wheeler all out of the race. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. Dance will want to get away through here because he will not want to have to work his way through the B mains.
No, certainly not. That's where it gets really grueling as everyone tries to grasp for a spot in the A main. Chris Purnell in P1 is really starting to ride the wall now, but you can see a little bit of a straighter line developing off turn 2. And have a look at how low Cameron Dance is going, trying his best to make the low line work in his pursuit of Daniel Stevens.
And what this has done, it's enabled Purnell to break an even further gap now. He's leading by half a second. Dance in third, a full second back now from Chris Purnell, and Matthew Cloyd a fair way back as well. So we come up to 3 to go. This race is flying by. Daniel Stevens may not have enough to respond back to Chris Purnell.
No, doesn't seem that way. It looks like Purnell's worked himself into a nice groove, as the track has. And look at how close he gets to the wall, barely leaving half a tyre's width to spare. That's what I love about this kind of racing. You do that every lap, and it's just over like that in 13 seconds. What was that?
It's incredible how quick the races fly by here. The lap times have started to slowly drift out a little bit from what we saw in qualifying. They're about 0.3 off as Cameron Dance just sets the fastest lap of the race. So he's starting to come back in, but it's too little too late. Chris Purnell will cross the line and pick up the win.
Excellent stuff from Purnell. A good start and managed the race really nicely. Matt Clote, unfortunately, finishes in P4 after his incident with Cameron Dance. And Matt Clote, Matt Hunter, Scott Kukas and Brett Wheeler, they all had an awful heat there. Very unfortunate for those guys, but we're going to very quickly move on into the next heat.
Yep, which will have Dane Burns and Brad Matheson on the front row, with Danny Vassell and John King on row 2. Brett Gerards, watch for him to work his way through from 5th position, with Riley Curtis and Mick Wilson bringing out the rest of the field. 7 cars once again for this heat. So there's going to be an interesting one once again. Some drivers that have got a lot to lose championship-wise. So it'll really be interesting to see who can make moves, who can progress through, and who'll get stuck working their way the whole way through the alphabet tonight. It's going to be some drivers that are going to really lose a lot of ground in the championship if they cannot stay out of trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And staying out of trouble is, above all, the hardest thing to do in dirt oval racing. And it's a very cramped view from inside the cockpit of one of these things, as you can see from Riley Curtis's onboard camera. They've almost got a truck-like sort of steering, a very big steering wheel, sometimes almost vertical, and you can't see very well out of it.
No, there's no vision at all out of these big machines. Yeah, you're right. Surprising to me, I'd never noticed the steering wheel, how low it sits, and how much, as you said, it's almost like a truck or a bus wheel, the way that you drive it. It's incredible to see, but it definitely helps maneuver the machines a little bit easier with how big the wheels are. So we get ready to take the green flag. I reckon any of these 6 drivers that we got out on track, Mick Wilson not taking the start, any of these 6 could win this race.
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on who takes the green correctly. Dane Burns goes, and absolutely fantastic start from him. Unfortunately, right behind, big incident. Bradley Matheson, my goodness, the start did the opposite of well for him. But they're battling very hard right up in front, and Dwayne Burns working out to a very nice lead. They are battling behind, though. John King and Riley Curtis for 4th place.
Yeah, and King did get a very, very good start. Riley Curtis, not the best start. They, of course, got tangled up with Brad Matheson as he checked up that outside line a little bit. But John King will get through. But Danny Vassell, have a look at the huge gap that they've already pulled. And Brett Gerards just had made a little bit of a mistake coming out of turn 2, and he lost a bit of ground. But Danny Vassell, the fastest car out there at the moment, starting to close back in on Dane Burns because he got an incredible jump at the start and is taking advantage of it. But will he be able to maintain this lead?
Yeah, that's the interesting question, because you can actually see now as the track continues to evolve, a little bit of a slicker, shinier line down towards the inside of the turns. That's quite interesting, and some drivers will find more grip on there depending on how they set up the downforce of their car. Remember, those huge, gigantic wings on the top, the driver can actually adjust them on the fly from inside the car.
Yep, and that'll be very, very crucial when we get into the main event with 40 laps of racing. To be able to adjust your car to suit the conditions is very, very key to making sure you can manoeuvre these things correctly come the end of these races. So we get to the halfway point. Danny Vassal's just set the fastest lap of the race, 2 laps in a row, and he's closing it down. He was at about 0.6 of a second. Now looking to start to make a slide job. I think we might see a slide job come the end of this race because Danny Vassal is looking strong as John King is around, facing the wrong direction. He's on the inside wall. He's going to have to go through the alphabet. This will hurt his championship fight for that Legends title.
Yeah, certainly will. Not what John King would have wanted, but out on track, Danny Vassal, you can see, using as much of the track as he can, making little bits of contact with the wall in the process. That's how hard he's pushing to try and take this win from Dwayne Burns, but he doesn't have much time left. They are on lap 10 of 15.
Yep, 1/3 to go. As they cross the line, there'll be 5 laps left, but he's well and truly within striking range. Will we see a slide job right now? Here it comes.
There it is, and Danny Vassal right up in front. Can Dwayne Burns respond? A little bit of fishtailing on exit, which ruined his momentum, but he's got the inside line once again.
Oh, look at the run.
All grip there on the inside. That really slick, hard clay. Danny Vassal right in the lead of this race in the dying moments. Fantastic.
That was a great move from Vassal. Well done from Burns to try and come back, but just couldn't get the grip out of turn 4. It looks like there's a little bit more grip on the inside of turn 2 than there is of turn 4. Turn 4 looks really, really slick on the inside, but turn 2 not quite as much yet. But Brett Gerards is starting to come into this now. Of course, teammates with Danny Vassal. Middle Finger Racing have a lot of drivers out there tonight. Very, very big dirt scene for MFR. So this round is right up their alley and a chance for those guys to move up in the teams championship as well. But look at the run that Gerards has got. He might be able to get it done as we cross the line. White flag in the air. I reckon Gerards might make a late lunge here and try and get the move into turn 4.
Yeah, looks like it. Dwayne Burns
holds on.
Interestingly, holds on. He certainly does. It looks like Gerards was comfortable right behind him there at the end.
Yep, happy in that 3rd position in the end. So Vassal, Burns, Gerards and Curtis all cross the line to finish the race, but King, Matheson and Wilson all DNF or DNS as we get into heat number 4 with Roy Clark and Gavin Barber on the front row, Jake Fox, Dean Mole, Michael Skurlock, Ryan DeCartier-McCarthy and Kevin Blomford, the 7 cars for this heat.
Yes, indeed. And these guys are going to really start experiencing the way the track evolves over this. You can see that those marbles of clay thrown up by the cars in this panoramic view of Eldora Speedway, one of the most prestigious dirt tracks in the world. Some call it the capital, the world capital of dirt racing. Knoxville, of course, takes sprint cars, but Eldora is something special.
Yep, both Knoxville and Eldora, very, very amazing circuits in the dirt side of things, and great to have them both in the iRacing service. Of course, we had the Knoxville Nationals as part of this championship last year. To head to Eldora this year, I think it's been really cool to have a little bit of a change. They're very, very different tracks with the way the banking is and how wide they are, the length of the circuits as well. It's amazing how different that all of the dirt tracks are. People that don't race or watch a lot of dirt track racing wouldn't really think that there's too much difference. They're all just a dirt track that's shaped in an oval, but they're all so unique, have so many different characteristics, and because they're so short a lap, understanding those characteristics is even more exacerbated than any other circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Hitting the nail on the head. Well, the pace car, the pace truck rather, pulling in, and we take the green flag for Heat 4. Roy Clark getting a very good jump there in the lead. Gavin Barber, though, trying to come back on the inside. Many drivers starting to move up the circuit, Dean Mole being one of them. But Gavin Barber, makes heavy contact with the inside wall, and that ruins his run. Unfortunately, balks Jake Fox in the process as well. I don't know how much damage Gavin Barber would have there, but my goodness, what a start. And up the front, they are battling incredibly hard. Roy Clark defending hard from Dean Mole. Have a look at the run that Michael Skurlock gets on the outside. They make contact and right into the wall. Dean Mole upside down and in the catch fence.
Yeah, and Jake Fox has got away through as well from that. So Skurlock has lost 2 spots. Jake Fox has almost made contact with Gavin Barber. And this is crucial for Gavin Barber as well. This is a chance to get a big chunk of points in the championship fight he has with John King for that Legends title. So Barber now trying to get the move on Jake Fox, but Skurlock's going to get the run out of turn 4. Barber's going to come back though.
Yeah, certainly. It's the entry to those first couple of turns that is optimum for Barber, but he doesn't want to go too far down to the inside, and I think he's starting to do that. Unfortunately, he will have to go to the inside to pass Michael Skurlock, because he's got the outside all to himself at the moment.
Yeah, Skurlock's got that outside groove worked out. You can see how close to the wall he's getting, but Barber is not letting him go. And I tell you what, Jake Fox is flying. When I last looked at the time difference between them, it was 0.8 of a second. Jake Fox is on his tail. Last lap by 0.4 faster, and this lap, he's ready to get the move done. Jake Fox is absolutely on a tear as we get to the halfway point.
Absolutely. He's really gotten used to his car now, and he's actually
Barber stopped.
Oh no! Oh yeah, and as that's happened, Jake Fox has taken the lead of the race, and Roy Clark now battling with Michael Skurlock for that final podium spot. Skurlock getting so close to Jake Fox, but Roy Clark is his main battle partner at the moment.
This is a great race. This has been our most entertaining heat so far. We've had all sorts of strange things going, and Roy Clark has lost all momentum and dropped all the way to the back now. So it's between Fox and Skurlock as we've got 5 laps to go. Skurlock to try and get the slide job done. Jake Fox, not quite enough momentum. Oh, they made contact, and Jake Fox just clips the inside wall. He might be able to continue on, and this will give Roy Clark a chance to get back into this one.
My goodness, this race has had absolutely everything in its short lifespan. What a shame, though, for Gavin Barber. This was his chance to get a leg up on John King, but they'll both be having to work their way up.
Yeah, and that'll be really interesting because, as we said, they were the championship protagonists. They were the only two at the moment in with the fight in that Legends title, but now they've both got to work really hard to get their way through. 3 laps to go, 2.5 laps to go now, as Skurlock just sets the fastest lap of this race. Skurlock is flying. Jake Fox not able to respond, and Roy Clark doesn't have enough to come back either. And right at the back, Ryan McCarthy, he's got a lot of work to do to close in, but finishing the race is still a better result than a lot of others have had tonight.
Yeah, certainly. It puts him in a bit of a better position to advance as well. So, with lap 15... midway through, Michael Skurlock, my goodness, what a fantastic race and great presence of mind by him to navigate all the chaos. He takes the win in Heat 4.
The Skurlock, Fox, Clark and Cartier McCarthy, the 4 cars that finished with Barber, Mole and Bromford to come through the consolation races, which we're nearly at. We've got one more heat to go. Then we're into our consolation races, our B and C mains. This race has a fairly stacked heat again. Otto, Northway, Douglas, Micklebore, O'Hara, Ben and Johansson. This is going to be a really, really tough heat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. This I'm always interested to see certain drivers matched up that you don't often see. I mean, in other broadcasts at SimSpeed, we talk about, you know, the Jared Philsells versus the Madison Downs and Josh Rogers and you know, the top teams in the Oceanic Endurance Championship as well. But these guys don't often get the limelight like this, so it's good to see how they'll stack up against each other.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that's the cool thing about the heat formats is that we have drivers that aren't always evenly matched in regards to speed, able to have a chance to compete against each other. They might not be able to hold on over a long race, but there's only 15 laps, so you've got a few chances to try and hold on to your position and work your way through the field or hold off someone from behind. So always adds an interesting element to these races. I love watching these heat race format events as we get ready to take the green. I think any of these 6 that are out on track could win this race as well.
Yeah, absolutely. With the amount of variation in circumstances that we'll see as a result of this, well, shadows are indeed getting longer, and the field really tightening up behind the pace truck. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I tried to mute my mic there.
I could tell that you tried that, and I heard the button, but it didn't quite work. But Phil Otto's about to take the green flag. Oh, that's got to be on a blooper reel somewhere. Green flag flies. Otto, great jump. Robert Northway's done a good job to hold on it as well. Gone very wide. Yeah, Dave Douglas looking really strong, but Otto maintains that lead. Oh no, yeah, that was it Robert Northway that just clipped the wall? Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and he's fallen all the way back to second and last as a result. He's got Jonathan Ben for company there at the back of the field. Josh Micklemore trying to make his way up to Sean O'Hara, who is pressuring Dave Douglas here. The battle for the lead is absolutely scintillating right now. Only starting lap 3 now, and we've already got one heck of a race on our hands.
Phil Otto just made a little mistake coming out of turn 2, and Dave Douglas saw it, was able to respond, and he's going to go round the outside. Move done. Dave Douglas takes the lead of this heat, and Sean O'Hara's looking to pounce now in that 393 machine for Middle Finger Racing, and a big mistake again for Phil Otto. Here comes Micklemore.
Wow, and Otto's all the way back to 4th now in the space of only a couple of corners. He's making use of the outside, which is good to see. It's getting in the run on the exit. They almost interlock wheels to Josh Micklemore and Phil Otto. My goodness, if these races were longer, that would be worth a replay, Jay. That was incredible. But this battle right at the front shows no signs of slowing down. Dave Douglas has a bit of a gap to Sean O'Hara, but the battle is certainly for 4th between Micklemore and Otto.
Northway's had to come into the pits and get back out again, so something's happened to Robert Northway. Obviously that hit in the wall. He's been able to get the car back out on track, but he has gone a lap down. So you'll maintain 6th position depending on how the rest of the drivers go. Have a look at Josh Micklemore, Sean O'Hara, Micklemore through. Beautiful slide job, but here comes O'Hara responding.
Oh, this is fantastic. Sort of a counter slide job almost, but O'Hara maintaining a consistent line. Micklemore with more grip on the outside once again.
And what this has done, Dave Douglas has checked out from these guys as Robert Northway just sets the fastest lap of the race. But Sean O'Hara, Josh Micklemore trying to move forward. They're now looking like they're trying to work together to close back in on Dave Douglas. Still a few laps left, still plenty of time. 5 laps remaining when they cross the line.
Yes, indeed, and you're starting to see even more variations through the corners now as O'Hara attempts to see what the inside line is like after it's had a bit of reduced running, but it's not working for him. He's lost all of that momentum.
You could see from how much wheel work he had to put into the car that he wasn't coping with the car. We've talked about it before, but if you are new to dirt racing, you actually don't want the car to go sideways too much. You want to keep it as straight as possible, because the straighter you are, the more drive you've got in the rear wheels, the faster you go. So while it looks cool to have these things all crossed up and sideways, you actually want to try and keep them as straight as possible. Use that slide to your advantage, but not have it sliding too much. And you see there again, Micklemore just got a bit of a slide out of turn 4, and it meant that that gap that he was closing in stretched back out once again. He's really struggling to get the power down coming out of 2 and 4. But once he gets it down, he's got some great momentum.
Yeah, he absolutely does. You can see that the very harsh double groove is forming through the first couple of turns. One layer of compacted clay on the inside, one on the outside. You can see it through both turns.
Oh, who's going to get it?
Every driver having trouble with it. Close finish, but Dave Douglas takes it. What a finish there.
1/10 of a second separated those two at the line. That was a great finish. Well done to Dave Douglas and Josh Micklemore. That was our closest finish we've had. Only a 10th. Sean O'Hara couldn't get back in the end. Phil Otto, Jonathan Ben, and Robert Northway all finished the race with Marco Hansen not able to finish. As we get into our C main, our first main for the night, 25 laps ahead for these drivers. Dutnak, Curtis on the front row, then Otto and Hunter, Mole and Fenley, Matheson and Northway, the 8 drivers that will take to the grid.
Yes, indeed. Well, Robert Northway gets a very quick turnaround time to attempt to recover from Heat 5. Be interesting to see how he goes, especially considering the pace that he had during that heat.
Yeah, exactly right. He looked really, really quick, so just wasn't able to, or something was amiss at the start, obviously. He hit the wall, but it's unusual to have that much damage that you'd need to come into the pits at this point, so a little strange, but we'll get ready to go green flag racing. 25 laps, very, very long for a C main. Usually we'd see these at about 15 to 20 laps, so it means that we're going to see a lot of opportunities. No cautions once again. We'll only have cautions on for our A main. So we'll see if this plays out in a very, very interesting format. top 4 from this race will get through to the A main. So we've got 2 B mains as opposed to a C and a B. So top 4 from this, top 4 from the next will go through and join the top 3 from each of our heats in the main event.
Yes, it is. It seems like a complicated system at first glance, but really, it is quite simple. You just need to make sure you finish as high as you can, and you'll be right.
Which is pretty much how you want to race every race, essentially.
That's it. Exactly.
If you just finish at the front, you're usually going all right. That's how it works, I think.
Normally, yeah. Well, either way, Mirko Dortanak has an opportunity to make up for the start that he had in the first heat, where he was caught sleeping. He'll be right on it now when the pace truck pulls into the pits momentarily. It'll be a difficult start here.
Oh, good jump.
Yeah, good jump and an awful lot of wheel spin. You can see that the track has been carried over from the previous heats. There's no clean track in this event. It's all carried over from previous sessions. The drivers are having to get used to that. They've had a long time, most of these guys, without racing on this track. This will be their first time experiencing what it's like. And Dortanak sliding so much out the front and a lot of jostling behind.
Yeah, Dean Mole, Robert Northway side by side there for a moment, and Brad Fenley and Matt Hunter also side by side. Brad Matheson's dropped a little bit from these guys, but at the front of the field, Riley Curtis is looking to get the move done. He's going to go around the outside. This is going to be a great fight here between Curtis and Dortanak.
Oh yeah, but Riley Curtis making a little bit of contact, side contact with the wall. He's making good use of that outside groove though.
Oh!
A little bit of contact, tiny smack. But that's okay, that's all part and parcel of the game. You can see that they're all starting to use the outside now. There are a few experimenting with a middle line between the 2 dry grooves, but that didn't seem to work for them.
No, it looks like it's very, very slick in that spot. And here comes Robert Northway. Look at him moving around the outside, now into second. Great job from Northway. Remember, he started this race all the way back in the field. Go! Look at Robert Northway go! That's an incredible move into the lead.
Excellent, and his rear tyre mere millimetres away from the wall as he did it. Fantastic. Showing his potential. That's a big crash for Phil Otto. Oh, his luck just gets worse and worse.
That's night done for Phil Otto now, so he will have to call it a night. That is night over, but night isn't over yet for these guys. Riley Curtis is struggling to hold on here from Dean Mole.
Yeah, he certainly is, and Mole, you can see, really being pushed to the inside and trying to get that momentum so that he can fling one up the inside at the last available opportunity, but Curtis is covering him off pretty well here.
And Robert Northway's pulled 2 seconds on these guys already, 2.5 seconds. He's the only driver doing 13s at the moment. The fastest driver out of everyone else is 0.8 of a second slower. That's Riley Curtis with a 14.7. So Northway is absolutely breaking out. He's now up to a 3.5 second lead. Look how far ahead he is already. He's only just passed for the lead, and he's just flying away from these guys.
That's absolutely insane from Northway. He's certainly set up his car just right for these exact conditions.
I'm wondering if...
a little bit of lap traffic, though.
Yep.
Not exactly making it easy for him. Bradley Matheson struggling there at the back. It's Mirko Dortanak versus Riley Curtis versus Dean Mole. Certainly a large battle to be had as we come up to the midpoint of this race.
It's an incredible battle going on here between Curtis and Dortanak, and you can see that Riley Curtis might have a little bit more pace than Mirko Dortanak. He just doesn't know where to go, doesn't know where to use it, because that outside groove is just the only way around at the moment. But give it another 5 laps, that outside groove could be absolutely destroyed, which will then mean they'll have to work out where else to go, as that lap traffic does cause a little bit of issues there for Dortanak and Curtis as they come through. And Riley Curtis is right there now. They're all struggling for grip, mostly out of turn 2. Curtis is going to have a go.
No,
not able to do it.
Yeah, once again, the more sideways you get in the middle of the corner, the worse you are on the exit. And Riley Curtis, big incident for him in the wall, losing ground immediately, but he'll have to get straight back into battle mode because Dean Mole smells a potential position.
Sure does. He's right there ready to pounce, is Dean Mole. So we'll see if he can get through. But this is important too, because if Brad Fenley can close a little bit of ground, he will take that 4th spot away from Dean Mole and take that transfer spot. So Dean Mole is in the crucial spot right now. As Robert Northway's pace has dropped off a little bit. I think he's just in cruise mode right now. It's just dropped, but I mean he's still got a half-second lead. That's incredible in this sort of race to have. Oh, sorry, a 5-second lead, not a half-second lead. You knew what I meant.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't see any other cars around him. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's been a long day already. But Dean Mole, his pace has dropped off a little bit. He needs to be careful of Fenley here. I think Fenley's looking to try and work out a way to close that gap back up because he's just trying to suss out the track. Still a lot of racing left. 6 laps. That's heaps of time to gain 1.5 seconds if you can find the right groove. But I think he's just going a little bit too low at the moment.
Yeah, it seems that almost riding the wall is the key to pace around here, and there's actually quite a sizable bank of spent clay that's building up on the outside of the circuit and up the wall, and you'll see a lot of drivers, including Dean Mole, using that.
Northway's trying that inside line though, while he's got a chance and a huge margin.
Yeah.
So 3.5 seconds. He's trying the inside. It's quite slow in comparison. He's now doing 15.2s. Riley Curtis still the fastest car at the moment, doing 14.7. So Curtis is by far the fastest, but he's struggling too at the moment. I think the guys that are out there, as Dean Mole's had an incident.
Oh no.
And he has lost that 4th spot. And he looks like he's coming into the pit, so he might be night done, and that is going to be huge for his championship. He's within contention of a top 3 in the championship overall. Night done in the C main will absolutely hurt his championship fight.
Yeah, I just went back and took a look. He ended up getting a bit too close to the outside wall and ended up climbing it, which results in very big damage in these cars, so very unfortunate for Dean Mole.
Yeah, very, very disappointing last lap though for Robert Northway. Great drive from him from all the way back in the field, the start, to now lead this race and gonna win the C main. He'll get himself into the main event and fight for the the title tonight as Dutnak crosses the line in 2nd, Curtis in 3rd, and Brad Fenley is going to do a Bradbury and get into 4th position and get himself into the A main.
Excellent run from Brad Fenley. That's going to really put a cap on his night. So there's the unofficial results. Northway, Dutnak and Curtis, followed by Fenley. Matt Hunter coming in behind in 5th. Good run from him, sticking it out there. Brad Matheson 6th, and Dean Mole and Phil Otto unfortunately retiring from this one.
We go into the final heat, or the B main, the final race before our main event for the night. Matthew Clote and Ryan DeCartier-McCarthy on the front row. Those guys have been no strangers to themselves throughout the series, with Wayne Taylor and John King on row 2. Jonathan Benn, Scott Kukas next, with Kevin Bromford, Jason Martin on the next row. Mick Wilson and Mark Johansson will not start this race as we get ready to go.
Indeed we shall. Well, the track is definitely in a different state now. We have 2 dry grooves running through the turns, and the only grip available is right on the outside next to the wall. Precision is going to be everything as the night goes on.
Yep, and after this session they will get a little bit of a warm-up before we get into the main event as well, so they will have a couple of minutes. I think it's a 5-minute warm-up so that they can get out there and just get a feel for the track. But what it will do as well mean that they will also cause a little bit more damage to the circuit, so it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation getting out there and doing laps in the 5-minute warm-up. So it'll be interesting to see how many drivers get out there for that warm-up session, but those guys won't be worried about that at the moment. Finishing in the top 4 is crucial. John King is the one to watch in this race.
Yeah, certainly, but off the start, let's see what Matthew Clote can do. He will take the field on the start, and it is, he waits all the way until the official call of the green flag, and a good jump from him. Wayne Taylor shoving himself into 2nd place, and Scott Kukas battling with Jason Martin in the back. John King, on the other hand, has not had a very good start at all.
No, he actually clipped the wall coming into turn 1 through turns 1 and 2 as DeCartier-McCarthy has a big moment. So from the front row, he's already back to the last running car at the back of the field. But at the front of the field, Matthew Clote and also Wayne Taylor looking to make moves. Middle finger racing 1, 2, 3 at the moment. But here comes Jason Martin trying to steal that away. 3 wide into turn 1.
Oh my goodness, and look at the battling on the inside. They cannot keep control. Cam Wayne Taylor or Jonathan Ben. Jason Martin scything his way through there. I am expecting a big charge, especially considering Cloak just smacked the wall.
Yep, and Jason Martin taking to the extreme inside. There is a little bit of grip there if you can stay really shallow through the exit of turn 2 and 4. There's a tiny little bit of grip there if you can hold the inside line really, really tight, especially through 1 and 2. You can see right there, there's a lot more dirt impacted on the inside, but he's not quite able to get the run on Matthew Clote at the moment.
No, but continuing to attempt that inside line. Clote just getting the better exit off the turns every single time, but this is good technique for Jason Martin. Remember, he is going to be in the feature if he stays in this position no matter what, so it's a good opportunity for him to practice alternative lines.
Yeah, exactly right, because you need to work your way through and find all different lines when it comes to the main in a few moments' time. The next race of the night will be our main event, so understanding how the circuit has progressed, and in a way you can also help the circuit progress by trying different lines and pushing the dirt into different spots. But he's now gone back to the outside, and he's on now though for that final transfer spot between Scott Kukas and Jonathan Ben, side by side out of turns 1 and 2, and now Ben trying to cover off Scott Kukas, but look at the run he's got on the exit.
Yeah, too much rotation from Ben, but wow, my goodness me, he is really making the inside line work for him there. Scott Kukas trying his best to make that outside line work, and have a look at the run he's getting there as Ben really over-rotates.
Now Jonathan Ben's got to work his way back past because Kukas is through, and Ben is really struggling here. So Scott Kukas now into that key 4th position and starting to drive away. John King also closing in on both of those guys ahead, and King will probably take 5th position right now because Jonathan Ben is just working too much on the wheel, just not getting the car working, especially turns 3 and 4. Ben looks really really in trouble, I should say. Going to try and say trouble and struggling at the same time there. Ben in a bit of trouble through turns 4. He's just gone a bit wider that time, but doesn't look comfortable for Jonathan Ben at the moment.
Yeah, it must have been that he tried to set up his car for inside line running, but the outside line is where it is, and he's having to adjust to that. John King, though, not providing a threat behind him as Matthew Clote continues in the lead of this one. But King versus Cartier McCarthy looks like a battle to be watched at the moment. Both of them really struggling. You can see they're just searching for every bit of available grip they can, getting to where the clay is of lighter color. That means that it hasn't been compacted and made slippery.
The issue is there's no real spots left where there is any grip.
Yeah.
The answer to finding grip at the moment is don't, because there is none. And you just got to make do with what is out there. Matthew Clote doing the best job of that at the moment. He's the fastest car out there. In saying that, Jason Martin has just beaten his lap time that time by a couple of thousandths of a second. So they're maintaining equal pace. So we come up to 9 laps to go. Matthew Clote, 5-second lead over Jason Martin. Then we've got Wayne Taylor and Scott Kukas. At the moment, they are all fairly safe into the A main, but as we saw in that last race, anything can and probably will happen. So Jonathan Ben still has to fight and make sure he maintains that position, but he is absolutely out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame because Ben definitely showed a lot of potential in the sprint car events. Hopefully, he manages to get over his woes of car setup and advance forward, but he's running out of time, unfortunately. Only 6 laps remaining.
Yeah, he's running out of time, and his car does not look all too comfortable. His teammate, Matthew Clote, coming up to the back of the field. That is Ryan Cartier McCarthy just ahead. So John King looks like he may be done. So he's out for the night. So Ryan Cartier McCarthy looks like he'll go a lap down, as well as Jonathan Ben potentially as well. Cartier McCarthy now 3 seconds back, and Jonathan Ben is starting to close back in on Scott Kukas. We said anything could and probably will happen. Here's the proof right now. Kukas is in a bit of trouble here.
Yeah, it looks like Jonathan Ben has sorted out, for the most part, what's been going wrong. He's making the outside line work incredibly well, and he's trying to ride that little bit of non-compacted clay in the middle of the turns. It's really helping him now.
Yeah, he's looking like it's a lot more settled, down to 0.6 of a second, so that gap you can just visibly see that it's closing. And Kukas is trying everywhere all over the track. He's now shot it back to the inside to try and find grip. Knew that there was none there, and that's cost him a heap of time. Jonathan Ben is on a charge here and could steal a spot, almost clips the wall.
Tries the inside again, unfortunately over-rotating, but he gets a little bit of a run on that grippy clay.
2 laps to go.
Can he make it work again? Big late apex from Ben. He straight lines the exit. A fantastic performance from Jonathan Ben here at the moment for the final transfer spot. He's giving it absolutely everything, but Scott Kukas is responding well.
Played across his line. Well done.
Wow. And Martin in second. Taylor is going to take third, but who will it be in fourth? Kukas versus Ben. Ben actually making contact with the inside wall. He is not going to get it, but my goodness, did he give it a red-hot go.
Well done. That was a fantastic job from him to try and steal that spot away. Couldn't quite get there in the end, but what a drive to try and get it done. He gave it absolutely everything. So Cloak, Martin, Taylor and Kukas all through into the main event. Jonathan Ben, Ryan DeCartier McCarthy and John King all out of the proceedings for the rest of the night. But I tell you what, we're going to have an absolutely awesome show in a few minutes' time because these guys are going to absolutely turn it on. These guys are going to put on a fantastic show for us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Currently in the warm-up session, and the in-sim time has advanced, and it's now 9 minutes to 7 in the evening, and a bit of a shadow coming over the Eldora racetrack, and that's going to be significant. Those little bits of shadow in, I believe that's turns 3 and 4. See those little bits of shadow? The drivers will want to get closer up there because the clay is cooler, and that means more grip.
Yep, exactly right. There's a tiny little bit more grip. It's not a huge amount, but it's enough. It's enough of a difference. So through turn 4 and through turn 1 is where the key spots are. You can see a couple of guys just clipping the wall as they try and search for that grip. So be very, very interesting to see who uses that grip to their advantage and who just doesn't really notice it too much. There's a few guys are a little bit out of control through this. And I'm noticing too, a lot of the regular dirt guys are all out there trying to punch in times and trying to get a feel for the track. Cameron Dance, James Robbie, Brett Gerards, Stephen Williams, Daniel Stevens, all out there trying to get in lap times, try and understand the track. Robert Northway out there as well. So those guys understand the key of this session right now, understanding where the grip is. It's going to be interesting to see who will take out the win tonight, because it's going to be very, very tight throughout this field. I think we might need to take a break, though, before we get into it, because I think if we don't, we won't have any voice left before we get there.
Yeah, certainly not. I need to refill my glass of water. We'll be back very soon on SimSpeed TV. Do not go away, because the big race is coming up. My goodness, the King's Royal at Eldora. I'm excited. Are you? See you in a bit.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaw.
Gotta love this time of year. Only one can be champion. Let's go playoff racing.
Of the best sim racers, $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is the most competitive and sought after season in iRacing World Championship history. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Super Cup.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
You're watching the iRacing Esports Network. We're SimSpeed TV. This is round 10 of the Majors Series International Division, coming to you from a virtual laser-scanned Eldora Speedway, and a ton of very powerful 410 sprint cars about to take to the track. Once again, I'm Reese Gardner, Jay Kennedy joining me on commentary and responsible for the cameras. Jay, this is going to be one heck of a race to watch, and you're going to have quite a job on your hands swapping between the battles we're going to see in this feature race.
I love and I hate these races because there's just so much going on, and bring it on, because it's been a fantastic night so far. We've got 23 in our main event, starting from 35 drivers. We've got it down to our final 23. We'll run through the grid of those now with James Robbie and Chris Purnell on the front row. It's going to be hard for James Robbie to not be up the pointy end at the end of this race, because we've seen how quick he is. Danny Vassell and Michael Skurlock next. Dave Douglas and Stephen Williams on row 3, then Daniel Stevens and Dane Burns on row 4.
Yes, indeed. Dave Douglas and, sorry, my apologies, I got mixed up there. Jake Fox and Josh Micklemore on row 5, completing the top 10. Will Leslie and Cameron Dance, one to watch there from 12th place, along with Brett Gerards and Lucky 13th. Roy Clark joining him on row 7. Sean O'Hara and Robert Northway. Interested to see how he goes with his immense pace before on row 8.
Yep, he's got to work a long way back, but he can do it. Matthew Clowett and Mirko Dirtnak on row 9. Row 10 goes to Jason Martin and Riley Curtis, with Wayne Taylor, Brad Fenley and Scott Kukas, the last of our drivers out there for our 23-car main event. 40 laps. Caution laps are also in this event. They will count towards the overall lap count, so 40 laps overall, which means that we can finish under caution, I believe. I don't believe we've got the green-white checker in for tonight. Could be wrong, but Robbie, Purnell, Vassell, Skurlock, the front four, will all want to make sure that they get a great jump. The track looks like it is in very, very tough conditions to race in right now. So it'll be interesting to see who can get the jump, who has the advantage as we get into the start of this race.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be outside line in the turns, middle line, down at the straight stretches, if you could call them straight, with these kinds of cars. Pace truck is going to pull in at the end of this one as the field bunches up. A beautiful formation of 410 cubic inch, 900 horsepower sprint cars. We've been through this a million times, how amazing these cars are and how amazing the racing is. A-Main gets going now. James Robbie with a really good jump there. Unfortunately, Chris Purnell caught out. Danny Vassell into second as the field comes around turns 1 and 2 for the first time. Jostling in the back, though. Michael Skurlock almost being put out on the outside. And Stephen Williams right ahead of an immense pack of cars as we have a big battle for the lead here, Jay.
Yeah, we sure do. James Robbie, Danny Vassell fighting for that lead, and Chris Purnell a long way ahead of the rest of the pack. Stephen Williams, have a look at this packy. 4 wide as there's contact between Brett Gerards and Stephen Williams. And our first caution of the night. Who else has been caught out in that? Josh Micklemore as well. Stephen Williams and Josh Micklemore both making contact. Micklemore stopped on the track. Dirtnak also involved as well. He's stuck on the inside of the wall as well as Stephen Williams. What it means, though, we're under caution. We can actually get a chance to go back and have another look.
Yes, certainly. And we're going to have a replay coming up for you guys. Of course, thanks to Modem Simulation, our replay sponsor. Love you guys. Fantastic stuff. Let's have a look. Stephen Williams' perspective on the inside. And, had to take a bit of avoiding action on entry there. And Bit of a chance taken by the car on the inside, and Williams pushed out on the outside, unfortunately, right into the path of some oncoming cars.
Yeah, it was Brett Gerard's that car on the inside. And you just see here, just was hugging the inside. I don't think he did anything too wrong there, did Brett Gerard's, and just made contact. So, unfortunate. We'll come back live because we're about to go green. We're already 5 laps into this race. Single file restart as well, so James Robbie will be trying to get as good a jump as he did just before. Danny Vassell will be a little bit miffed because he led for a large portion of that first 5 laps, but when the caution was thrown, James Robbie was just ahead.
Yeah, well, that's one of the harsh realities of oval racing. Sometimes a mere fraction of a second can make all the difference as to your starting position off a restart. Stephen Williams is back out on track after taking some repairs to his car. Unfortunately, he rejoins a very long way back, the last running car on the circuit.
Yeah, also it's gone a lap down, as has Riley Curtis as well, who's sitting in the 3rd position. He's just hugging the inside at the moment. He'll try and get out of the way as quick as he can for Chris Purnell and Dave Douglas. Biggest mover at the moment, Brett Gerard's up 6 positions, Jason Martin up 7, and Wayne Taylor up 6 positions as well. So there's a few guys starting to make some moves as we get ready to go green. Pace track pulls in and a great jump from James Robbie.
Oh yeah, and big slide as well to get things started. And looks like Vassell hugging that outside right on top of the mound of dirt. And there's problems in the back for, oh no, that's Riley Curtis there, just trying his best to let all of these pursuing cars by, but it's getting awkward there on the inside. Contact, Riley Curtis around. I don't know if he did anything wrong there. Another caution thrown because of Riley Curtis being stopped out there on the circuit. I think he was doing all he could there to stay out of the way.
Yeah, it was a tough position for him to be in there. Riley Curtis and Cameron Dance, Michael Skurlock, Daniel Stevens and Sean O'Hara were all in amongst a huge gaggle of cars and they just come up on him at the wrong spot. So unfortunate, but we often see in these sort of races where you have a car that is a lap down, they will often just come into the pits to get out of the way. And you can see there that it was also Brett Gerard's getting involved there. And when the caution actually came out, Cameron Dance lost 3 spots between the point of contact and the point where the caution was actually thrown. You'll see here, he's side by side with Gerard's, is Dance. There's a contact there, makes contact, he then makes secondary contact
2 spots
with Skurlock and then lost another spot to Daniel Stevens.
My goodness. And that's once again demonstrating how much things can change in the blink of an eye in this style of racing. Well, it's going to be another single file restart. This caution shouldn't last much longer. Lights still flashing on the pace truck.
Yeah, it won't take too much longer before we get back under green flag conditions here at marvellous, amazing Eldora Speedway. Don't forget to subscribe while you are tuning in here on the iRacing Esports Network if you have not subscribed to the channel before. Yeah, appreciate all the subscriptions and everyone that does tune in every single broadcast. It's been fantastic to be on the iRacing Esports Network, which is now 1 year old. Amazing that we're that far into this project already. It's gone so quick and it's been so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday to the iRacing Esports Network. It's been a very good year and there should be many more to come because the quality of the racing that we've seen on this network has been fantastic. Pace truck in, James Robbie on the outside. Flat out, off the start. Very good jump. Danny Vassell a little bit further behind, but right behind. Chris Purnell has been almost caught out. He's having a bit of trouble.
Oh, and there was almost locked wheels between Daniel Stevens and Cameron Dance as well. So, great start from Brett Gerard's. And as you said, Dave Douglas, Chris Purnell changing positions. Cameron Dance also starting to make some moves. There's contact between Daniel Stevens and Sean O'Hara. The teammates make a little bit of contact.
Oh, yeah.
And here comes Sean O'Hara to try and get a slide job done, but that outside groove just has too much pace at the moment. And James Robbie starting to break away a little bit here. He's now got a fairly decent lead over Danny Vassell, but Dave Douglas is the driver that's under pressure at the moment. Chris Purnell makes a mistake, and Cameron Dance is coming.
Yeah, he certainly is. Dance hugging the outside line once again, and Chris Purnell, a very poor exit on the inside. So Cameron Dance, wow, right there. That is the demonstration of the kind of grip you can get on the outside at the moment. These guys are going to be running mere inches away from the wall from now on.
Dance trying to follow. He's just hit the wall. Just about to say his lap time was identical to James Robbie. They're the 2 fastest cars out on track. Dance 15.00 and Robbie a 15.04. So not much difference between the fastest two guys. As we expected, they would be the fastest two. But just ahead, there's a little bit of traffic now. These guys have got to be careful to not get involved in other people's races here. So you can see Riley Curtis, Roy Clark, all trying to get out of the way. Scott Kukas as well, not far ahead. Cameron Dance there in the 4th position, but Dave Douglas side by side here with Chris Purnell as a try and come past Roy Clark at the same time.
Oh my goodness, and Purnell has won out after all of that, and Dave Douglas making his way through on the inside. He's one of those drivers who stuck consistently to the inside throughout the race, and it doesn't seem like that's the fastest way to go.
Jason Martin's made it work on the inside the whole way through. We saw in that heat race, or that last race that he was in, he was trying to make it work. As Cameron Dance through on Brett Gerards as Danny Vassal's into the pits.
Oh no.
From 2nd position, Danny Vassal's in the pits. I'm wondering if he short-filled the car. Wondering if he hasn't put enough fuel in the car. We'll try and get an answer for you. But what that means is Cameron Dance is now in 2nd position. Brett Gerards in 3rd. And Dance has got 20 laps at the halfway point to close in 2.5 seconds. Based on his pace, he could potentially do it. But Robert Northway as well is starting to make some ground too. He's already made up a heap of positions as Skurlock and Martin continue to battle. Martin, the biggest mover in the race, along with Dance and Gerards. But Jason Martin looking really strong. He's the only driver to make the inside work.
Yeah, certainly. These guys are battling super hard at the moment. Jason Martin making sure that that inside line is working for him, but Skurlock continuing to bridge his car up against that mound of dirt on the outside, and Riley Curtis right in front of these guys. He's going to make things a little bit difficult. Scott Kukas and Riley Curtis have just made contact, Jay, right in front of them. Oh my goodness, that's another caution. Scott Kukas around on the track. They're going to have to make sure that they keep it nice and safe around him. He's still at a standstill, whacking it into reverse just briefly. Let's take a look at what happened, Jay.
And we're just hearing too, the issue for Danny Vassal was he clipped the wall and actually got a meatball flag. So that's why he had to enter the pit. So that's really, really unfortunate for Danny Vassal. He's now a lap down. But as you said, just ahead of Jason Martin, there's a big hit there between Riley Curtis and Scott Kukas. And, being laps down as well, fighting like that and making contact, I don't think the race control guys will be too impressed. But what this does do means that the gap between James Robbie and Cameron Dance, which was closing quite quickly at around about 0.2 of a second, is now eliminated. It was 2 seconds. It is now 1 car length.
Yeah, certainly is. And once again, oval racing and its flag system comes to the fore. It's fantastic. I love how the field just keeps getting closed up again and again and again. You get a brand new race every time.
Yeah, exactly right. And you think that one driver's just got it worked out and someone else just starts to make a little bit of inroads and someone else completely out of the battle altogether makes a mistake and it brings everyone back together. So the pace truck will come in next time by. The lights are still on. That amazing pace truck. And we'll get green next time by, but have a look at this field. What a field of cars we've got. Congratulations again to the Major Series. It just gets bigger and bigger every round. We love all of these fantastic races we've had throughout this season. And again, another huge field. It caps or beats the number of drivers we had at the last dirt event last year. And of course we get back to NASCAR racing next round in 3 weeks time. There's a chance of us getting another biggest field we've had for a NASCAR race, which I'm looking forward to seeing as well. As we get the green.
Yep. Certainly, and Robbie once again ducks down to the inside, uses that grip, and he gets the best start out of all of them. Cameron Dance in second though. Oh yeah, that's very bad. Up the top, that's going to be another caution right away. Barely half a lap completed.
That was Dutenack, and now Vassal's also been involved there in the end, so unfortunate for Danny Vassal. It looks like Brett Gerards also has had to come into the pits. He may have got a meatball flag there. It wasn't. Sorry, it was Danny Vassal. I also saw a white car hit the wall there too, so I'm not sure who that was.
It's one of the Illusion guys.
And Brett Gerards, I think, has possibly got a meatball flag there because you can see the front wing is heavily damaged on his car.
Oh, yeah. That's really unfortunate for Brett. That usually means doom. Fortunately, in the Major Series, you do have one spare car to use in a race, so he will very quickly take that and get back out on track as fast as he can.
James Robbie will be ruining that, though, because he got a great jump but what it means is there's now no car between he and Cameron Dance. So he can try and get that great start again, but Dance will be right there and be able to just shoot along with him. So there'll be no car in between to hold Dance back that tiny little bit. And just hearing it was a black flag for Brett Gerard, so that was the issue. And possibly from those lap cars trying to get out of the way, actually got in the way a little bit, which is a bit unfortunate for Brett. So he's dropped to the back of the field, and we'll go green, I believe, next time by, which will give us 9 laps of green flag running left to go.
Yes, indeed. Brad Fenley making his way through the pits as well. I'm not sure what for. He hasn't actually stopped in a box. He's just touring his way through.
Maybe he's just trying to get out of the way. Could be
Perhaps.
what he's trying to do. He's just going to try and drop to the back of the field. As we get ready to go racing once more, the iRacing pace truck will pull in, and James Robbie will have control of the field once more. We'll see if he can get that jump once again as we go green.
Yes, indeed. We've only got 8 laps to go this time by, and look at Dance. He's managed to stay with Robbie pretty well, but have a look at Dave Douglas in 4th, battling hard, and Chris Purnell's actually managed to get by him there. That's going to be an interesting one, but Dance actually
oh no!
falling a bit behind. Oh no, big incident involving Robert Northway. And my goodness, it's continued halfway down the circuit. Will Leslie involved as well?
Yeah, Will Leslie and Sean O'Hara as well were involved in that, and it just was fairly heavy contact from both of those guys, and we'll see if we can pick up a replay of that and see what happened. But yeah, Will Leslie, Sean O'Hara and Robert Northway were the cars involved. Northway just got a little bit crossed up coming out of turn 4 and just shot down the track a little bit. You can see there, bang.
Yeah, absolutely. There was nothing Sean O'Hara could do there. Fair whack in the side. From that point on, he was a passenger, and then he got a huge side hit from Will Leslie, so big damage to both of those cars.
Yeah, watch this onboard from Leslie. You can see the incident happening ahead. He's like, oh no, where do I go? Bang!
Yeah, and it all happens so quickly. You don't have much time to make a decision, especially when you're trying to slide a 900 horsepower downforce machine around a dirt track.
What this will mean is we've got 3 or 4 laps of green flag running to go, so not much left in this one. Excited to see how this all plays out. We get ready to take the green flag in the next lap. Leave us with, we've got 5 to go when we cross the line now, so we should have 4 laps of green flag running left. Fingers crossed we stay green till the end.
Yes, indeed. It would be good to have a green finish on our hands for this one. And the drivers are getting to survey properly now how the track has evolved, and you see all of that clay and all that muck up on the outside wall, all thrown up by the cars through the sessions since heat started. And there's really no grip any further down.
Well, there's no grip anywhere, to be fair. So it's all no grip and even less no grip. So looking forward to see negative grip. 4 laps to go though. The pace truck pulls in and we get ready to go green. Dance is trying to take advantage here, but a great jump again from James Robbie. Chris Purnell and Dave Douglas go at it again as Dance in the wall.
Oh no! Oh, this is going to be trouble for Dance. He needs to recover, but Purnell and Douglas battling behind him, giving him a little bit of breathing room. Dave Douglas desperately trying to make that inside line work, but Purnell keeps coming back at him. Meanwhile, a little bit of traffic and another caution out, Jay.
This could be the end of the race.
It could be the end.
Could be the end. Who was that? I believe Scott Kukas may have been involved, Brett Gerard. So I'm not exactly sure what's brought out that caution.
My goodness, yeah, that was that got pretty crazy there. Well, let's take a look at a modem simulation replay. Educate ourselves. So
this may show us nothing.
Yeah, well, let's see. Car 85 coming through on the inside. Very slow.
Oh, there we go. That's what it is.
Oh,
Dirtbag trying to get into the pits has actually spun it around.
Oh, and that's what brought out the caution.
Yeah, because Kukas actually made contact with him. So that's all it was that's brought out the caution. And that could mean that is the end of the race.
My goodness, that's very unfortunate because it would have been good to get a green finish. It is the final lap of the race, and I mean, what else can you say about James Robbie other than bravo? A fantastic job from him all night. He hasn't seen anything other than the front of the field, and he's going to come away with a win here in the King's Royal.
ironic thing is he actually messaged me early in the week asking if we could try and persuade Cam Dance to come in and do commentary so that he had a chance. Well, he didn't need it. He's going to walk away with the win anyway. Congratulations,
Excellent.
James Robbie. Well done. Cameron Dance in second. He'll help consolidate a big chunk of points. And Dave Douglas also on the podium. He will be overjoyed with that. Congratulations to Dave Douglas in the end on getting a podium. He'll be very, very happy with that. Chris Bennell in fourth, and Jason Martin, I think he'll be overjoyed too. Fifth position in the end. He had to come through from the absolute back of the field, gain 14 spots to finish in that fifth spot. Biggest mover in the field in that race as well, so well done to Jason Martin. But James Robbie, congratulations. You can go and sit on that beautiful podium here at Eldora.
Yep. What a fantastic night of racing this has been. I mean, I honestly don't know what to say other than fantastic stuff. And James Robbie quickly beginning these victory celebrations despite the presence of other cars around him, and who can blame him? That's a long, hard night of racing, and he's come away with the best results. So James Robbie there taking the win from Cam Dance. Dave Douglas completes the podium. Purnell, Martin, and Stevens complete the top 6. Robert Northway ends up 7th for his troubles. And Dwayne Burns completing the top 8.
Yeah, good to see Northway got himself all the way up into that spot in the end. So Wayne Taylor and Michael Skurlock ran out the top 10 with Sean O'Hara and Brett Gerards. Sean O'Hara, the last driver in the lead lap. Unfortunate for Brett Gerards. He had great pace and was right in there for a podium as well. He'll have to take 12th position. Jake Fox in 13th with Brad Fenley, Roy Clark and Mirko Detnak rounding out our top 16.
Yeah, and then we go to our less fortunate drivers. Definitely Will Leslie and Scott Kukas all multiple laps down. Riley Curtis, Danny Vassell with some rotten luck, and Vassell in particular showed quite a bit of potential. He could have been a contender for the win in this event. Stephen Williams, Matthew Clott and Josh Micklemore round out our field. Micklemore, unfortunately, our first one out.
And there it is, James Robbie sitting in the spot that he deserves after that race, position 1. Up on the podium. Congratulations to James. We'll get some driver interviews in just a moment, but I love dirt racing. It just always puts on an amazing show. It's always fantastic to watch. And Reese, I believe we're going to get you to have the interview with our race winner, James Robbie, right now.
Yeah, absolutely. James Robbie joins us in the commentary box. Welcome, James, and big congratulations on winning the King's Royal at Eldora. That must be an amazing feeling.
Oh, cheers, guys. Thank you. I'm so stoked. Absolutely stoked. That was a hard track, and yeah, once I saw Cam come in with about 15 to go, I knew life just got a whole lot harder. So I'm absolutely stoked.
Well, the evolution of the track certainly played its part. It looked like everyone was having trouble out there finding grip.
Yeah, it was pretty slick, pretty quick. But the good thing is that a lot of people were running sort of mid track or trying to run low, so it saved the top for the people that were brave. But it was it was a good track. It was good fun because there's multiple grooves. It was.
Well, I assume that you're unhappy that you didn't get to do as much racing in this event as you probably could, but those cautions definitely did help.
Yeah. I think it would have been a lot more interesting for the spectators if we had some green flag running towards the end. But I mean, it's dirt racing. That's what happens. It'll be great when iRacing implements cautions not counting towards laps. But yeah, it was a hard track, and I expected a few cautions. I fueled accordingly, but the cautions definitely helped me.
Well, it worked out in the end for you regardless, and there's no reason that there's no skill to navigate cautions and the like. So congratulations, James Robbie. You have a platform now. Who would you like to thank? Any shout-outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, cheers. Thank you to you guys for putting on the broadcast. It's always awesome. Mike and John and the team behind the majors. Massive thanks to everyone at Misfit Motorsport for the support and helping each other out and practice and that sort of thing. But I have to dedicate this win to birthday boy John Schultz. I got lucky tonight, so I hope he's going to as well. So thank you.
Excellent stuff. Happy birthday, John, from us at SimSpeed. That's James Robbie, your race winner. The next up is our second place man, Cam Dance. Wow, Cam, my goodness, that was an incredible event, and you're one of the biggest movers in the field from 12th to 2nd. What an eventful night.
Yeah, a little bit of a shame about all the cautions in the end. The top five invert kind of sent me off on the back foot, obviously having to start fifth, and then the tackier track being in the one of the first few heats made passing a little bit difficult. But the setup was relatively good for the feature. Watched what it was going to do, expected it to be quite slick, and in the end, it was quite good. Around midpoint to three quarters through, the setup started to sort of not really have too big of an advantage over everybody else, which was a bit of a shame, as we definitely had pace to win tonight. But end of the day, it's again more points towards the championship, and heading into the next round at Michigan is going to be very interesting.
Yep, certainly, and it's certainly going to bolster your championship chances, Cam. As a result of that, speaking of the slick track, it looked like you in particular were having a bit of trouble with that outside line, making contact with the wall. How hard was it to judge that distance at that high speed?
Yeah, it's quite difficult, and then you've also got the likes of the ruts and um, whether the car's going to grip up or not. Obviously, you're running a quite tight setup compared to what I did earlier in the night on a tacky track. Obviously, made things a bit difficult with the way that the car didn't quite want to rotate so much. But at the end of the day, it had very good pace come the start of the feature and actually in warm up as well, which was quite promising. But yeah, just ran out of green flag laps at the end of the day, and a few lap cars ended up costing us a little bit.
Well, regardless, it is a good result nonetheless, with a very well-deserved second place. Who would you like to thank, Cam?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the boys at Slick Sim Sports, and our sponsors down under graphics, Thigh Designs, Cush Clothing, and also you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast.
Cam Dance there, your second place man for Slick Sim Sports on a very slick Eldora Speedway. And our final driver interview for the night is going to be our third place man, Dave Douglas. Well, Dave, it was a night of consistent results for you. You managed to make your way through those heats fairly well, and a podium in the A main.
Yeah, pretty stoked, boys. I was coming here hoping to do well, and my aim was a top five, so I'll take a third every day of the week.
Yeah, certainly. Well, it was a big eventful race out there. What was the traffic like? Because we noticed there were quite a few incidents resulting from cars losing it in front of big packs.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to not have any sort of dramas in the respect of traffic, but it was hard because I was running a low line, and a lot of the slower guys sort of chose the low line to get out the road. So lucky for me, I didn't come across any that sort of got in my way. They were all pretty good. I just sort of swept around the outside, and yeah, I suppose managed my way to get to the third.
From that answer, I presume you were setting up the car quite early on to be for the low line, because I did notice that you were one of the prominent guys sticking to it.
Yeah, I know. In the practice session, the track was fairly well slick like this, so I spent a bit of time running that low line just to see if it gives me a consistent lap time. And if you sort of get the throttle and run that fence, you can just pick up a bit of that tacky stuff down the bottom and get a bit of drive off the turn. And I suppose I put it to good use here tonight.
Yeah, excellent info there, Dave. Well, nonetheless, a fantastic third place for you. And moving on to Michigan, another oval round. It's certainly quite the change, but it's the more things change, the more they stay the same. Still turning left, still turning right occasionally, still very crazy.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm a bit of an oval guy myself, so the aim's going to be a top five there as well. So we'll go there and throw everything at it and see how we come.
Well, before we let you go, Dave, who would you like to thank? Who gets it done for you?
Just the team, RCD, Sim Sports, and especially Riley sets up the car. Well, doesn't set them up. Sorry, he does the liveries. You guys for the broadcast, perfect job every week. And Mike and the team at the majors for putting on this great series.
Thank you very much, Dave Douglas, your third place finisher in the King's Royal at Eldora. Well, Jay, that brings to an end proceedings for tonight, and I think we've certainly got some great value out of this event. What a night of racing we've had.
Yeah, it's been absolutely incredible, and congratulations to everyone. Well done to all the guys on the podium, James Robbie, Cameron Dance and Dave Douglas. They were phenomenal most of the night, so great to see. And James Robbie deserving of the victory in the end. He was very, very good. He got into the right positions at the right time and just drove away at the right moments as well. So well done to James Robbie. And I'm looking forward to the next round when we head to Michigan, because it's really going to sort a few other drivers out. We've got a lot of drivers in this field that are a little bit more suited to the oval side of things, and they'll be looking to respond after a disappointing night tonight. They'll be looking to bounce back and have a great performance next round.
Yeah, absolutely. If you just missed that, round 11 of the Majors Series is going to be at Michigan Speedway in the NASCAR Cup cars. So, wow, I'm really looking forward to that. I remember racing at Michigan way back in the day in the trucks, Jay, when we were teammates.
We did a lot of that.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Just truck racing endlessly. Well, it's going to be a bit of a return to old times then. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network and subscribe to us over at SimSpeed. We broadcast many series in the AusNZ and Asia Pacific region. We even broadcast North American series with the Geodesic GoPro Championship. This has been the Kings Royal, round 10 of the International Majors Series. Your winner, James Robbie. Have a good one, everyone.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got with the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?